On this episode of the Infinite Loop Show, we have no more skeuomorphism.
What? Really?
That's right, folks. No more felt. No more wood paneling. No more torn off paper edges.
No more rounded corners?
That will still be a thing.
No more reflections?
Oh, that will probably still... Look, okay, never mind. Look, a new Infinite Loop Show is coming up right now.
Hello, welcome to the Infinite Loop Show, episode number 57 in a row. I'm Michael Gaines.
That's a lot. That's a lot of shows.
It is a lot of shows. I'm Michael Gaines.
And I'm Kacey Coughlin.
Hi, Kacey. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing just fine. We didn't do a show last week for technical and social reasons.
Yeah. Personal reasons?
Yeah. Life happens.
It does. It's been happening a lot more for me.
I know. And summer's coming, so...
It's not winter. Summer is coming.
I know.
Prepare.
Speaking of which, no Kacey this episode.
I know. How mad were you? Because I was super mad.
I'm telling you, it's turning into the when will we get to Kacey show.
Yeah, we could have spent like a lot less time with what's his face, Greyjoy.
Yeah.
Like I mean, he's annoying, and I'm all glad that he's getting tortured because he's annoying. But I don't need to spend that much time with him, like guessing who's torturing him. We could be catching up with Khaleesi at this point.
We, of course, are talking about Game of Thrones, which we both absolutely love.
Indeed.
Indeed. But this is, you know what? I should remember that I have to bring up soundboard. This is an Apple iOS show, so let's get
this isn't This Week in Game of Thrones?
No,
I'm sorry.
No, it's not. It's not. So let's get to the news. And you know what? It would be a good idea if I turned the damn volume up. Apple releases iOS 6.1.4 for iOS 5. I saw this morning, and
getting closer to 7.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we only have 86 releases to go.
I'm sure they'll make it.
I'm sure they'll make it too. No, it's a new speakerphone audio profile, which is good. I guess it was needed. There is one thing I wish that my phone would do is that. When I'm in the car, the phone doesn't pick up with my Bluetooth device, but when I go to call somebody, it uses the Bluetooth device by default. I can't seem to figure out how to get it to work.
That's weird.
So I don't know if this will fix it. I haven't downloaded it yet. I'll download it later.
So if you have a call incoming, it just goes to the phone and you have to push it to the Bluetooth?
Yep. I have to hit the devices button and then I have to hit explode. And
that's weird. My car will one of my cars will automatically pick it up, but then the other one that has the same, it's an aftermarket Bluetooth, doesn't do either.
Mm-hmm.
I have to push it either way. So I don't know.
But it's not on the list of stuff to talk about here, but you just reminded me of something that iOS 7 is starting to show up on web browsers.
Oh.
You didn't see that this morning?
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
No.
It's starting to show up on web browsers. There are a bunch of websites that are reporting that they're getting hit by iOS 7 devices. So
I like it.
I like it too.
I'm excited about that.
I know. And we've got a month to go.
I was hearing that some sites were saying that there were more iOS 7 sightings. Maybe that's what they were talking about. Yeah. I was looking for actual screenshots of the interface.
No.
I mean, clearly I'm way more excited about any interface and design changes. And so I'm looking for graphics and screenshots and everything. Maybe like a sideways over the shoulder shot. But maybe that's what they were talking about, that browser sniffers were picking it up.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to get any screenshots before WWDC. No, we're not. We're not.
We could. Things could happen.
I read an article. I didn't put it in the notes, but I read an article where somebody said that they're worried about what iOS 7 is going to look like, that the flat is not going to be good. And I'm not sure. Without seeing it, how could you make any kind of judgment? as to
I'm
what
really
it might
not
be.
worried about it at all. If it's flat, great. I'm sure it will be done in an elegant way. I'm not concerned about that in any way. If it's not flat, then I'm sure that will be for a perfectly good reason as well.
There's skeuomorphism and then there's flat. I mean, I don't know exactly what the person
Well,
running.
no, they're not like 180 degrees in either direction. It's not like one's 1, one's 0. You know, it's
Right.
not black or white. There could be a wide range of grays in between. But I think at this point, I mean, in the last 10 years, when has there been a bad interface or design decision by Apple? It's always looked good no matter whether it flopped or succeeded. Like the design and the interface has always been really well done.
There's one thing about Mountain Lion that annoys me, and that is they removed the colors on the sidebar and the Finder from the icons, and they're all grayscale now.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like that. And looking at my phone, so my phone, it's got the usual icons. I mean, when somebody says flat, I'm hoping they don't mean that everything is going to go away. I mean, you got to have your color icons.
Yeah, I guess it could go that route. That's a good example because those are flat grayscale icons, and if they're trying to go that route, that's more kind of the Metro feel.
Maybe.
And even Adobe went that route to a certain extent with all of their icons in Creative Suite 6. Everything was very flat and grayscale and everything. So they could go that route.
Yeah, but I can't see Apple, which is known for its wicked color icons, to just go flat. I mean, I could see...
This is true.
I can't see that happening. I could see not so much the icons being grayscale. I can't ever see that happening. But I can see maybe parts of the interface going grayscale. Like what I mean by that is like if you hit settings.
Yeah. Not the entire interface, but just certain
interface.
Parts that aren't as important.
Because there's no real skeuomorphism in this. There really isn't. Not in the dashboard.
No, right. But I couldn't see like your primary icons that are going to be on the desktop or in the dock.
Yeah.
They're not going to be flat and gray. Like you're not going to see that. Maybe in settings they'll be flat and gray where they're kind of out of the way, but not the ones that are front and center.
Yeah.
That would be unprecedented.
Nah. We'll see. Countdown.
It definitely is.
Got a countdown going. It's that time again. Apple is doing another countdown, speaking of which.
Segue to countdowns with another countdown.
50 billion app downloads. Wow.
Again, it feels like every couple of months we're at one of these app download countdowns where they're giving something away to, I don't know, and this almost feels like it's a lot, but usually they do these milestones at like 100 or 1, like the 1 billion or the 100 billion or what have you. Now it's like halfway in between. But even still, I don't know. It's a big number, but at the same time, it feels like, well, let's just throw another milestone in there to pat ourselves on the back.
I mean, when did you ever know of a platform to have 50 billion downloads? Like never. So
no, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, of course, I don't know how many fart apps we need.
But then you could say like, how many platforms had 60 billion? So let's make 60 billion a big milestone and have a countdown, and you could do that at every increment here on out. But
if you're the 50 billionth downloader, then you get a $10,000 gift card.
Yeah, maybe I'm just jaded because I've never gotten this gift card.
What would you do with that? I would hang on to it and wait for the Mac Pro to come out, and then I would buy 5.
Oh, dude. Would it work for that? Because I kind of feel like it would be an iTunes only gift card. So then they'd be like, no. It's not Apple Store. It's just the App Store.
Let me look. 10,000. Oh, it's an iTunes gift card. Well, nah. So
then you'd have free, essentially... I don't. Maybe you would be able to run through this quicker than anybody else with the 5.1 audio and everything downloads. But I feel like any standard user would have then free music and app downloads for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Just for downloading the 50 billionth app. The original iPhone, strange to think, but it's so old now that it's going to reach obsolete status in the Apple retail stores.
It is. It's finally gotten its AARP card, and it's going to go into an old folks' home and get taken care of. And there you go.
Are you going to visit it once a week?
Yeah, you know,
Feed
or
it once in a while.
every couple of weeks, you know, I'll call it and say, I can make it this week.
Make sure its bandwidth is still running.
Yeah, right. Go out and clean out, you know, its board, any dust, blow it out. And
so all this, I don't know anybody who's running an iPhone 1 or 2 at this point, but
I don't, but I've seen them in the wild still. Like, it seems like they've kind of gotten a little bit of a readoption rate from hipsters and whatnot. The same people that are, you know, cleaning up and using Royal typewriters have Apple iPhone 2Gs.
This is my original iPhone right here. I gave it to my oldest, who accidentally dropped it. That's why the screen's all cracked. However, at this point, I was using this for testing for my first app that I put on the store, and it worked well for that. But now that we've moved on to not supporting iOS 3 and 4,
it's obsolete.
It's not. Well, yeah. I mean, it's just gotten to the point now where apps, we're not supporting iOS 4 and younger, so there's really no need to run this thing anymore. It's amazing how heavy this thing is compared to the 5.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's just a brick.
But it still works. Can't really do much with it at this point.
Well, it's like saying, you know, you could still probably get a reliable Apple PowerBook.
Yeah.
It would still work, but would you want it to?
Yeah, we were talking about that when I said, you know, it would be nice if I had a PowerBook G4, the titanium PowerBook G4, because I love those, but they're just useless at this point.
Oh, God. I loved my PowerBook 12-inch when those first came out, and I had one. I loved that. The 12-inch form factor was fantastic.
Yeah.
But, I mean, obviously, you know, still running a PowerPC, that's not, it's not really doable at this point.
Ancient at this point, right? New York Times wrote this article. I read this. They've got points, but they said that Apple is not doing enough to prevent iPhone thefts. To which I say, okay, wait a minute.
This is crazy.
Apple is doing what they can, in my opinion, because I know people that have had their iPhones and their iPads stolen and recovered. And there are things that you can do to set up your device so that if it does get stolen, it gets wiped. The problem is that they're saying that there are some places where these things get taken and then their identifying chips get replaced very easily. And I'm going, that seems like a lot of work. Are the returns practical on that? I don't know. I don't really agree with this. I don't agree with this article at all.
No, me neither. I mean, they're the OEM, and yes, they're also the software manufacturer, and so maybe they hold some amount of responsibility, but not everything. And I mean, how much? I don't know. I mean, if we compare this to other phones and especially other technologies, you know, how much is HP or HTC or Microsoft held accountable for thefts? Obviously, Apple devices are probably stolen more because they're just more desirable and they're sexier. And, you know, there's, especially in New York. I read an article a few months ago that Apple devices were among the top just things in general that were stolen, and a lot of the violent thefts were centered around Apple devices, not just iPhones but computers as well. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like Apple's doing more than I think most, especially with the Find My iPhone software and everything. And you can't force. I mean, you can try, but you can't force every customer to set that up day one before they leave the store. And even if they do, anytime anything goes wrong, especially with an iPhone or iPod, the first thing they say is to restore the device.
Sure.
And so what does that mean? So then you reinstall everything, and how many times do people restore and then reset up or rejigger Find My iPhone? I'm sure that's probably dropped off half of them when they're restored.
Yeah.
So
I know that Apple could probably do maybe one or two things more, but the way this article was written,
they're not going to put in a kill switch.
No.
I hope not. And they're not going to have in some sort of hardwired GPS load jack in the hardware. Everything's going to be software based if it is kind of a low jack thing, which really Find My iPhone is if it's set up properly. But then you're putting it in the hands of the user.
Yeah.
So it's how many times is Microsoft cursing out its users for not using Windows properly, when a lot of Microsoft's problems with Windows could probably be resolved by either training or, I don't know, helping users use it properly,
Yeah.
So we're going to shake a fist or wrap Apple's knuckles with a ruler because they're not doing this?
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't agree.
come on. Nobody's doing this.
I don't agree at all. Adobe announced the other day that there are going to be no more boxes.
Yeah! Subscribe to all the things!
So I've been subscribed to the Adobe Cloud thing for several months. And I think it's the greatest thing ever. I got a little bit of a discount because I've been purchasing Photoshop since Photoshop 4. So that's a long time I've been doing an upgrade. Not CS4, but 4.
Right.
And
before it was hip, you were already.
And I thought this was the greatest thing. I thought it was a great idea. The problem is that I've been seeing a lot of people saying that this is terrible. And it's a terrible idea and it will fail. And it's Adobe trying to get more money out of people. And I'm thinking, no.
Well, I think that it's just not really. It's probably the same amount of money because they already charged a boatload for the box.
No, it's less.
So it's probably the same amount, maybe even a little bit less, just in a different form factor. But you and I had a discussion the other night about a similar thing just with games.
Yeah.
Moving to a purely subscription kind of cloud-based form factor. And what does that say in the future when said company that is your sole source for this software now, you can't get boxes for Photoshop or what have you anymore.
Right.
You're dependent on Adobe and you're paying that monthly subscription, and then all of a sudden Adobe just goes belly up and you don't have that anymore.
But see, I agree, because we were having this discussion the other day, and my point was, let's you're a publishing house. Let's say, I'm just going to throw a name out there. Let's say you're Konami or something, or let's say you're Bandai, or God forbid, Square Enix goes up or goes under. And then what do you do? If you subscribe to Final Fantasy 16, I'm just throwing this out there, in the future, and Square Enix one day goes belly up. Who's going to support that? Somebody's got to buy it, because if you're in the middle of a game, or if you bought it and you never downloaded it or something happened to your hard drive, you got to get that from somewhere. And this is the problem that I have with some subscription things. With Adobe, I don't think that they're ever going to go under. And even if somebody bought them, let's say Apple bought them, hypothetically, that the first thing that Apple's going to do is make sure that everybody is happy. And so, I mean, Adobe's not going anywhere.
I hope so. And I mean, you'd say that with companies that like Blizzard or EA that are huge today, but
it's like this.
It could happen to any company that we think of as big right now.
Yes. And we've seen companies get gobbled up before, but Adobe there are some cornerstone companies, and in my opinion, Adobe is one of those cornerstone companies that can't ever go under, because there's so many people dependent on them that, between Photoshop and Illustrator alone,
Yeah.
I can't see Adobe ever going away. So in that case, I think a subscription model is fine. However, in the gaming community, yeah, you can say that EA is a cornerstone, despite the fact that everybody hates them. But there are companies out there that we thought were strong, like Rare. We thought Rare was strong, and look what happened with them. And that's the problem I have with subscribing to games, is that the gaming, the economy of games and the companies is so volatile, so very volatile, that I don't think I could ever trust a gaming company, no matter who it is.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of experience, I think, lasts a much longer time. Like, people still could be nostalgic for and want to replay the original Mario Brothers.
Sure.
And maybe to a far lesser extent, people are nostalgic about Photoshop 1. Mm-hmm. Next to almost nobody wants to fire up Photoshop 1 and actually use it.
Oh, but there's that one
you
guy.
could fire up Photoshop 5 or 10.
There's that one guy
just as easily,
who has a Mac Plus in his basement and runs. I know for a fact that there are people, there are only like maybe a handful of them, but there are people out there that still run like Atari 800s and Apple IIe's and nothing else.
Okay.
But they're the extremely rare corner dust cases.
There's far less of them than there are the kind of retro gamers. Like, retro gamers, I feel like, whether you're just a father trying to introduce their new kids to like Castle Wolfenstein or something that got them into gaming and got them really excited, which isn't even that old, or you're just kind of a hipster and just like to play the old kind of style.
Yeah.
That mentality is far more prevalent than I'm going to fire up some old ass software and run it that's far less functional and drives up my CPU and memory. But what the hell? I'm going to play that anyways, and it has no friggin' purpose. But then I'm just going to be like a weirdo hipster like that.
Brian Elliott in the chat room, he says, I fire up Windows DOS games on occasion. I've done that. There are a couple of the old DOS games and Atari ST games. Oh, you're shaking your head. No. There's a
Negative.
game
that is not true.
There was a game called Starflight 1 that I used to fire up every now and then. It was the basis of the original Mass Effect. And
oh my God.
For what?
Nothing.
What did you say?
Nothing.
Sometimes it's my kids are playing Ocarina of Time right now on the Wii.
You play that like every weekend, don't you?
No, I don't play that. I haven't touched that game in a long time.
You are like, I swear, every time I look on Instagram on the weekend, you were playing that game.
No, that wasn't me playing it. That was I was taking pictures of my kids playing it. But yeah, the subscription model for software, I think it's in its infancy. It's going to be a while before we see what happens. This goes with movies too, and we'll get. Well, actually, you might as well just even talk about the whole music thing now. It's in our rapid fire, but I'm just going to sort of move it up because we're talking about subscriptions.
Oh, yeah.
The iTunes Store turned 10, and there was an article. Where was this? AppleMagazine.com. I believe it's AppleMagazine.com wrote a piece about how downloads are going to go away. Maybe. I say maybe. And the reason why is because depending on how much music you listen to and with today's cell bandwidth and how much you have to pay for it, I don't know if what I used to do with my, even before I had an iPod with my Nomad jukebox, is that I had my sort of core music. Like this is like your desert island discs, so to speak. And I think people are still going to want to own things. And this goes back to similar to what we're saying about software, is that we have seen companies that are still alive and still doing well cut the licensing for certain music. Companies can lose a license to a band somehow, or an entire group of albums. And then what do you do? If you didn't buy it, you wouldn't have it. And that's what I'm a little afraid of. And that's why I'm sort of against this, because back when Blu-ray was first coming out, there was talk about how Disney would quote unquote turn off the vault or turn on the vault. You know how they always say that Disney movies go in the vault for 7 years. There was talk when the Blu-ray spec was coming up a long time ago that they were going to try to allow companies to log into your player and switch off the ability to play certain movies. I'm like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
But I think there's just going to be too much consumer uproar if that actually happens, and that's why I think in the long run, we'll have downloads. I'm not against it. I'm sorry. We'll have downloads. I'm not against streaming. I'm not against streaming at all, but I'm just a little leery of it because I don't trust the companies to not turn something off someday. Look what happened with Netflix last week. They cut off several thousand movies because they lost the licensing deal.
I forget which provider it was.
Warner Brothers.
One of the movie studios just pulled all of their
everything.
titles, and it was like 1,500 or something movie titles that just gone
and that,
from Netflix.
That proves my point. That can happen. You're a Netflix, You're a Netflix subscriber. Warner Brothers pulls the plug, just like NBC Universal did with iTunes a few years ago, and now everything you have is gone.
Yeah. I mean, there's that big worry, but like you said about bandwidth, I think it's literally half the country still has about dial-up kind of speeds because they're either they're so remote that they're dependent on satellites, or their pipes are so far, apart that their speeds are unusable for streaming, really, and streaming is just not really a viable option for them yet. So until that's really more pervasive across the country, and then also, but I feel like that the threat of pipes getting turned off essentially, either by companies or just what have you, they decide it's not necessarily needed or wanted anymore, and they just stop offering it, and then that's because you don't have a DVD or CD copy. It's your only resource. If Spotify just went belly up and they decided they didn't want to provide anymore, then, if somebody was, say, relying on that for all their music and they gave up downloading and everything, then you're just kind of hosed and you're just completely in their pocket and reliant on them. So
yeah, that
could happen, I think, anytime, regardless of bandwidth or whatnot. I don't know how you would protect against that, really.
It's licensing, the legal aspects of licensing versus consumer trust. That's really what it comes down to. As soon as if something big happens, like with Warner Brothers, you shut something off and people get pissed. I saw something happen. Somebody today, I don't remember who it was, but they said that a bunch of stuff they tried to grab on Hulu, they wanted to watch on Hulu, was all gone today. I don't know what. They didn't say what.
Hulu's going to be under the same category and precedent that Netflix is. It's not like Netflix has these special deals with companies and Hulu or Amazon On Demand or anything else is immune to it. They're all the same. And so if any one company can just revoke access and pull their shit off one service, they could do it to any of them at any time. That's not like one is immune than the other.
And that's why in some cases I still buy discs, and people say, you're old fashioned. It's like, well, when your stuff gets turned off, we'll see who's old fashioned. So of course the anti-Adobe people are starting to push Pixelmator and GIMP. Good luck with that. Pixelmator's okay.
Pixelmator's a lot better than GIMP.
It's
GIMP
a lot better than GIMP.
Hurts me anytime I think like, oh no, I could use this, I could do this. Okay, I could be open source. No.
Pixelmator's good, but it's not Photoshop. It's if you don't care enough about Photoshop to buy it, then Pixelmator is probably fine for you. But if you're like me and you've been using Photoshop since version 2, I think
half the battle is just knowing the interface. Like, I'm just used to it at this point, and then the other half is just the functionality that you lose with any of these open source. Obviously, they're going to be able to like color and crop and
Sure.
resize, but there's a lot more functionality that you get with Photoshop or any of the big box programs that obviously open source is going to give you. And,
Yeah.
like anything else, is just what you're willing to sacrifice. What's more important to you? Do you have more money than what have you? Or
Yeah, true. What's this you put in here? Apple iPhone is what, almost 40% of the entire smartphone market?
yeah, so there's been a lot of reports after Apple's earning call. I think it was either last week or the week before. I think it was last week, where and a lot of this, like, it seems like all of Q2 and a lot of Q1 really has been really down on Apple, specifically for the iPhone 5 and how poorly it's doing, and
Oh,
how it's not selling, and how the iPhone's going down the drain, and this is the turn of the times for Apple, and all of this, they're doomed, and all of this. Well, these numbers really kind of show the exact opposite, that the numbers for April and a good part of Q2 really show that Apple has almost 40% of the entire smartphone market in the iPhone. And that's just in terms of operating systems. Android is number one, and then I believe that Apple iPhone is number two. But then when you go to OEM, hardware manufacturers, and sales, Apple is number one. And then I think Samsung, HTC, you go on down the line.
yeah.
Since Apple kind of gains more of a advantage there because it's one operating system but only one hardware manufacturer, whereas Android is one operating system, so it gets more of the market share there, but it's across multiple OEMs for their hardware.
Yeah.
So it's a little more spread out on that graph.
I know.
But
It really irks me when people say, "Brr, Android is better because it's on more phones." Yeah, it's like saying DOS is on more Windows machines, or like, yeah,
well, I
it's
mean,
in
it's
there.
not like, that didn't hurt DOS. Obviously, it
No.
did gain a lot of market share, and it did gain a lot of success because of that, because you could put it on almost any hardware, and maybe that artificially gave Android a leg up.
Oh, it's most definitely artificial. Especially, I mean, if you look at
But
what
yeah, iPhone and iOS is not hurting in the shadow of that,
No, it's
really.
not. It's not. And if anybody tells you differently, then they're wrong. It's as simple as that. Yeah, there are more Android devices out there, but look at what versions of Androids are running, or Android they're running, and just look at the kinds of phones they are. Not
I
too
saw
happy with that.
an article that said the new HTC First, the Facebook phone,
Uh-huh.
had to take a price cut under AT&T after only a month of being out.
Really? What happened? I didn't see that.
It just it's not selling, so they have the price, which is silly because another phone had to do that a month or so into existence. Um,
Gee, I wonder what one that
I'll
was.
leave that up to the historians to.
And finally, Apple wins the iBook's trademark case. Well, I sort of saw
Oh,
this
thank
coming.
God.
The thing is, you throw the problem is that Apple threw the letter I in front of stuff years ago, and now, unfortunately, using the letter I has been adopted by a bunch of different people and companies.
Yeah.
But the letter I has historically been associated with Apple ever since the iMac, iMac, iPhone. So even though it's a letter, and technically people can put stuff in front of it, or put the letter in front of words as much as they want, in my opinion, it's just associated with Apple. So
This is true. And it seems like the only other companies other than Apple that use that moniker, that put I in front of stuff, are third-party companies that are trying to, or making third-party projects for Apple.
yeah,
Third-party software or adapters or what have you, but it's all centered around Apple. So it's almost become like if it's not Apple itself, then you know it's for an Apple thing because they put the I in front of it.
yeah. If somebody
Like, yeah.
if somebody came up with something called an iCamera, my first thought would be that Apple made it. If somebody right, it's an iGame or an anything, and that's where I think they won the trademark case, is that it causes consumer confusion, and so that's why.
There you go.
All right, let's go on to rapid fire and go.
AT&T launches a new prepaid wireless service.
Ooh.
They just butt off a new service right off their side there called AO Wireless. It's all prepaid, kind of like a Metro PCS. And they debuted with the iPhone 5.
So what kind of pricing do you get with this thing?
So you got to buy it outright, and then I believe it's $70 a month, if I'm not mistaken.
So what makes, because I paid the subsidiary price for the iPhone 5, and I'm still paying like $70-$80 a month. So how is this better?
I'm guessing, unless
not sure.
No, I don't know about the bandwidth and the actual architecture on this AO wireless service. If they're literally on the same bandwidth and architecture that is AT&T's bandwidth, then, and you could rely on that and have the same kind of signal strength and everything everywhere you go as AT&T does, then that might not be a bad deal.
Yeah.
Depending on how long you keep your phone, because that's a key thing too. If you're like me and you trade your phone in every year, then paying the full price for it may not really,
be practical.
Yeah, you're not going to make that up, I don't think.
No,
I'm better off just paying the small upgrade fee and paying the subsidization as part of the subscription every month.
Yeah.
But if you don't do that, if you're thinking of going with T-Mobile or another smaller third party that's prepaid for specifically that reason, because you're going to keep this for 3 or so years and you're looking at prepaids already, then this might be a good deal for you.
Sharp and LG are going to start iPhone 5S display production in June.
Oh, really?
So it looks like we're going to get, an August, September release or something for this mythical iPhone 5S?
That's weird. It's like a year from the last release. It's almost as if it's going to come out right when we thought it was.
And LG is going to start mass production of Retina iPad mini displays around the same time.
I like that much more. I'm ready to sell my 3 for a new Retina mini.
I can't tell if you're kidding.
No, I'm being serious.
Oh, I still use my iPads all the time. I never thought that they were too big.
Honestly, and I feel horrible for saying this, but I haven't used my iPad 3 in months.
Wow.
Every time I go to use it, the battery's dead.
Oh,
so
well.
I plug it in, and then I forget about it for another week. And then I go to use it again, and it's dead.
What do you pick it up for? For like reading books, magazines?
Yeah, for like going to bed, and I'm just gonna instead of using my iPhone, for the end of the day, just catch up with all my notifications, all the Instagram, Facebook, Google Plus stuff. At the end of the day, just clear that queue, and I'm just gonna look at all this stuff that is stacked up. And right now I do that on my iPhone, last bit before I go to bed, I close my laptop and I just take my iPhone to bed. I'd like to take my iPad to bed and do that, and like I used to, but now every time I pick it up, it's dead.
Well, I can understand that. There are times when I'll go several weeks without using it, and then I'll just immediately pick it up and I'll use it almost every day for a month. It depends on, I guess, what's going on in life, because I have this computer here. I read my news on it. I'm not one of those take it to bed people. I'm when I hit the pillow, I'm done. I'm gone. I don't do that.
See, I like to wind down, because a lot of times when I finally get up and go to bed, then I'm not dead tired or anything. There's still a period where I need to wind down and stop thinking about stuff.
And Facebook is in talks to buy Waze. What is this? You don't
I
know?
just saw this today and I was a little bit shocked. I can't say that I'm happy about this. And it seems like Facebook, really, it kind of feels like we see this all the time. Like Facebook is in talks to buy everybody.
Well, yeah.
But Waze, like, come on, wait, like, I actually like Waze. And I only use it for one purpose. It's awesome for traffic notifications. If
Sure. Yeah.
if I'm in bumper to bumper traffic or I see something up ahead and I see brake lights or what have you, I know either Apple Maps is going to be way late to tell me anything,
Mm-hmm.
or any kind of traffic updates they have on the maps are really old. And Google Maps is kind of the same deal, where either it's old or they don't tell you enough of what's going on. But Waze people are really good. They're on there as soon as there's slowness. It seems like there's people updating and posting little notes saying, "Hey, this is backed up. You know, you're going to be going 20 miles an hour or whatever. Or, oh, I just saw why there's a cop there, or there's, you know, an
Yeah.
accident here." And, you know, you get the most up to date. And it's insane how, I guess, what else are you going to do when you're in bumper to bumper traffic? You're going to update ways as to why you're in bumper to bumper traffic.
Well, yeah.
But,
I've never used the app. I'm installing it right now.
yeah, I never use
I
it for directions or anything else, but that's the one thing that is just spot on for it is anytime there's traffic or I need up to date, precise traffic information. Like exactly why is there traffic? Is, you know, this exit closed or is it just an accident?
But it depends on people actually typing data in, because that could
Yeah.
be a hazard when you're driving,
It's
even if you're in
completely
traffic.
crowdsourced, and maybe it's just because I'm in Southern California.
Yeah.
It's been entirely reliable. Maybe it's not if you're more rural and nobody is posting updates to it. I could see that, but at least for me in Southern California, it's perfect. It's awesome.
Yeah. I have to agree to an agreement on this thing. Okay. I'm looking at it now. I'm gonna just check real quick. Oh, come on. You know, these apps that have like 900 silly little things. It's
just
like,
an extensive
and do you
setup
want to do
process.
this?
I know.
And what about that? And brr, brr, brr. You know, like, no, just give me to the damn app.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so here I'm looking at the app now, and it's telling me, where is this? 14 miles an hour. Oh, what is this? Oh, jeez, man. You know, sometimes apps are like overdone. Moderate traffic, Garden State Parkway North, Bloomfield. Okay.
See, aren't you better off having known that now?
Well, I have always used Google Maps for traffic, and it's always been pretty accurate. I'm not sure. I mean, I've never used this before, so I don't know how good it is and how real time it is. But I'll give it a shot.
Well, you use it and let me know.
I will.
Get back to me on that.
I will. All right, and Apple released a Thunderbolt firmware update, version 1.2, which is supposed to fix some stability issues. This may be related to the problems that I was seeing. I haven't figured out what it is. It's either Flash or the whole Thunderbolt issue, because I leave my computer on all the time. But I don't know. I've seen Flash take down computers before.
No, me too.
Whoa. And okay.
Not a fan.
Not a fan. Anyway, sorry about that. I had a Hangout invite. But yeah, I'm going to download that and reboot my machine.
You're so popular. It's insane.
I
Really.
know, really. All right, apps before we go. Mine is Songpop. I know it seems a little silly, but I've been playing this with my friends from high school.
No, I don't know what this is. Tell me.
Okay, it's an app it's a game. And what it does is it gives you 5 songs, and then it starts playing a song, and you have to quickly select which one is the song that's being played.
Oh, this is almost kind of like a Draw with Friends or something.
It's made by the same company.
Where, yeah, they give you like the start of something and you have to guess what it is.
Yeah.
But instead of like a picture or something, it's a song.
Yeah. And So I can't really do it over this because licensing and all that. But it'll give you 5 songs. Oh, there are different classifications. So it'd be like classic 70s, classic 80s, new wave, 90s, today's hits, and there are tons and tons and tons of categories. The only thing that I don't like about it is that if you want to buy a new category, you can pay money to unlock a category, but normally you would have to get like 200 or 300 or 400 coins, and you get 3 coins per win and 1 coin per loss. So
it's like a freemium type model.
Yeah, sort of like that. So I refuse to pay money for that sort of thing. But,
right.
But my friends from school and I play it, and it's all like classic 80s, 90s, 70s, 80s, and Billy Joel and things like that. And the only problem that I have with the thing is that sometimes I'll get like an itchy trigger finger and I'll hit the wrong one because my thumb is traveling to the one that I want to hit, and I'll hit the wrong one accidentally because it times how fast you selected your song. And that's where the competition comes in. So if I grabbed it in like 1.7 seconds and my friend grabbed it in 1.6 seconds, and they would win.
I do that a lot with You Don't Know Jack.
Mm-hmm. Similar.
Like, I get excited when there's a version of one of the games where the answers are like flying at you, like in space, and I get all excited. I'm just like, I'm like, no, that was the wrong one. Why did I just bat at it, like, instinctively? And
it's funny because there are some songs that I some friends of mine, I'll go, how did she get that wrong? And then I'll get you can send messages back and forth to each other, and you're like, I picked the wrong one. I'm like, yeah, I do that all the time.
yeah, exactly.
So, all right, what's yours?
Okay, so this mine is a game as well called Dots.
Mm-hmm.
I forget where I saw this. Oh, I think it was on Google Plus last night. I saw it on a post from one of the iPad sites. I forget which one, and this is bad. But anyways, if you just search for Dots, it's a very simple minimalist game where it's literally just dots, and it's almost kind of like not like Tetris, but one of those, like a Bejeweled. I hate to use that analogy, but it's kind of like that game where you connect similar objects and then they disappear and more kind of fill the screen. And so it's time-based, and the whole thing is to clear as many as you can, and you can connect as many as you can. Like a lot of these games, there's a minimum, like, it has to be a minimum of 3 things to connect, and you can go more than that, but you can do as little as just 2 and just make tiny, just little one-line connections. You get bonuses if you can make a full 360 connection, like a square, and meet all the way back to where you started. So you get points for the more connections you make in a single line or swipe. And you swipe, the dots together of the same color. And there's a time limit, like I said. So it just, because it's so simple and minimalist, it's just super addicting. And I spent like an hour and a half last night from the point I downloaded it. I'm like, I'm just going to see this for a second. And then all of a sudden, over an hour has gone by, and I'm like, what happened?
Can you play against other people?
I want to say you can challenge other people through social networks, but I didn't even try to get into any of that. I was just so bent on besting my own time.
Oh, okay. So, I'm playing it now. Oh, damn this. See? Now you got me addicted.
So now we can't finish this show. He's just going to be doing this.
Put the phone down.
But yeah, and again, because the design of the game itself is just so nice and neat that pulls me in a lot more than, it's an addicting game, but then the design of it and the look and feel of it is just so nice and pretty that I'm just like, oh, I love it.
It reminds me of letterpress.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. It's totally, because that game is really pretty and well designed too. And I will, even though there's aspects of the game that just make me mad, or maybe it's just the people I'm playing with make me mad, but Oh, it's so pretty. I keep playing.
All right, that's it for this week. How does everybody get a hold of you, Kacey?
I am on the Twitters, Kacey Queso, KACEYKASO, the Kacey, not the cheese. Google Plus, Kacey Coughlin on Google Plus, Kacey Mack on the Facebooks. And we're also the Infinite Loop Show on the Google Plus, the Facebooks, the Gmails.
Well,
How do I get a hold of you, Mike?
It's Star Mike on Twitter, and you can find this show and all the other ones that I do, This Week in Trek, World of Warcast, and the Hooniverse are on the D20network.com. Why are you rolling your eyes?
I almost took a nap there because there's so many shows that you do. It was just like an amazing list. I almost took a short nap.
All right. Well, I don't know if I should be insulted by that, but thanks for watching and listening. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
I like Mac.